The same day Alex graduated from college, the most popular and beautiful girl on campus suddenly offered him a strange deal. She handed him 4 million yuan and asked him to become her contract husband for the next 3 years. At first it looked simple, just a business arrangement. He would carry her name, stay by her side, and in return he would get money. Nothing emotional, nothing real. But time slowly changed everything. Those 3 years passed so naturally that Alex eventually forgot their marriage was fake in the first place. Somewhere along the way, he stopped acting like a husband and actually started feeling like one. He became emotionally attached to her without even realizing it. One morning, while still half asleep, he casually climbed into her bed like he had done many times before. But this time, the reaction was different. Without hesitation, Stella kicked him so hard that he fell straight onto the floor. "Stay away from me." Her voice sounded cold and distant, like he meant absolutely nothing to her. That moment hit him hard. For nearly 2,000 days and nights, he had stayed beside her, silently enduring everything. He listened to every command, handled every need, and slowly pushed down his own feelings and self-respect until there was barely anything left of himself. And finally, that morning, something inside him completely broke. "Stella, let's get divorced." The second those words left his mouth, the warm atmosphere around the breakfast table disappeared instantly. The room became painfully quiet. She looked at him carefully, surprise flashing briefly in her eyes before her usual cold expression returned. "You're serious?" Then came the warning. "If you file for divorce, you'll have to return the full 4 million yuan, and if you can't pay it back, I can easily send you back to prison." There was no humor in her tone. It sounded like a direct threat. The truth was, Stella had already grown used to having Alex around her. For the past 3 years, he had always been there obeying her, helping her, following every order without complaint. Even if she didn't love him, she wasn't ready to let him leave that easily. But Alex only gave a small smile and nodded calmly. "It's better to end this now," he said quietly. "If we wait until he comes back, things will only get messier." He thanked her for everything that happened during those years and promised he would find a way to return the money within 1 year. Then he asked if she was free that day so they could finish all the paperwork immediately. But Stella's pride was too strong to stop him or ask him to stay. So the two of them went straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau that same day. Just 10 minutes after the office opened, their divorce was officially completed. Not even once did Stella look back at him. She simply walked to her car, got inside, and drove away without another word. Alex was left standing alone outside, carrying a strange mix of bitterness and emptiness inside him. Meanwhile, Stella had barely driven 200 meters away when her phone suddenly rang. She pulled the car to the side of the road and answered the call. The voice on the other side sounded familiar, yet strangely distant. "Stella, why did someone else answer your phone last night?" The man sounded excited. "I was trying to tell you I'm finally coming back soon. But after I finished talking, that guy just replied that he understood." Then his tone changed slightly. "Don't tell me you two are already sleeping together?" Stella's expression instantly turned cold. "Keep your disgusting thoughts to yourself," she replied sharply. "I accidentally left my phone downstairs last night, and right now I'm busy." But before the call ended, she suddenly heard another woman's voice from his side. Without even hesitating, Stella immediately hung up. At that moment, she couldn't believe she once had feelings for someone like him. The call disgusted her. The shock of the divorce mixed together with Troy's shameless behavior completely ruined her mood. For the first time ever, Vice President Stella disappeared without giving any explanation to the company. Instead of heading to work, she turned her car around and drove straight home. The second she entered the house, she walked directly toward the bedroom without stopping. Diana, who was still lying in bed half awake, tilted her head in confusion as she watched her daughter suddenly hug her tightly. "Mom, Alex and I got divorced." By around 11 in the morning, Stella was sitting silently on the living room sofa. Not because she wanted to. Her parents were sitting across from her, and it felt more like an interrogation than a family conversation. Warren had always spoiled his daughter ever since she was young. Usually, he would defend her no matter what happened, but today was different. He stayed completely silent while watching her get scolded. "Do you even realize what you just lost?" Diana said angrily. "Forget the fact that you've been controlling Alex for years. How did you even let the divorce happen?" She didn't stop there. "For all these years, your work life went smoothly because someone was always supporting you behind the scenes. Which one of your projects did Alex not help finish late at night? At home, he took care of every little thing for you too." Then she sighed deeply. To be honest, someone with his talent wasting his life like that was already unfair. "He cooked for you every single day. Every night he prepared everything you needed before you even asked. I still remember you once telling me how nice it felt to have a man at home taking care of things." Diana looked at her daughter with disappointment. And now suddenly you're telling me you divorced that same person? It honestly feels like Alex must have done something terrible in his past life to end up with someone like you. Hearing that made Stella's face turn red with embarrassment. She quickly straightened herself and fired back. Whose side are you even on, mine or Alex's? Then she crossed her arms and said coldly, Let me make one thing clear. Alex was the one who filed for divorce. Your daughter was the one who got dumped. The moment those words came out, Warren's expression darkened. He immediately grabbed his phone, ready to call Alex and demand an explanation, as if his daughter was somehow too good to be left behind by him. But before he could even dial the number, Diana angrily stopped him. How dare you call Alex right now? Her voice became even sharper. What if he finally tells everyone that Stella spent the entire marriage thinking about another man? You think she was secretly waiting for Troy to come back and nobody noticed? She looked directly at Stella. You think I didn't know? You think Alex didn't know? The room became completely silent. Then Diana spoke again, this time more seriously. Listen carefully. If you even try getting together with Troy after this, I'll personally take back every share under your name. Then let's see how long that man stays interested in you. Stella immediately snapped back. Those shares belong to Dad. Go ask him if he actually has the courage to take them away from me. Diana slowly turned toward Warren and gave him a sharp look. Warren instantly understood. This time, instead of protecting his daughter, he stood on his wife's side. He looked at Stella and said firmly, Your mother and I agree on this. We will never approve of you and Troy being together. Stella stared at both of them, anger burning in her eyes. Then, through gritted teeth, she finally said what was really bothering her. This isn't about Alex loving your daughter anymore. The truth is, Alex doesn't want me anymore. Her voice sounded frustrated and bitter. Last night, Troy called and said he was coming back to marry me. Alex answered that call. And then this morning, he suddenly filed for divorce. She laughed bitterly. So what's the point of blaming me now? Whenever something good happens, all of you care more about Alex than your own daughter anyway. But Diana wasn't affected by her words at all. She simply looked at Stella calmly, like she could already see through everything her daughter was trying to hide. You think I don't understand these little games of yours? I'm your mother. Then she continued coldly. So Troy's coming back, huh? Fine. Starting tomorrow, I'm selling your apartment for half its value. Since you're divorced now, you'll move back home. Her tone became even more threatening. And if you walk into this house after 9 at night, I'll personally break your legs. After a short pause, she added one last line. After that, date whoever you want. Anyone is fine except Troy. Diana made her decision immediately. And today, you're not going anywhere. Then she stood up and said firmly, I'm going to meet Alex myself. I want answers. I want to know why he suddenly filed for divorce. Her eyes turned cold as she looked at Stella. And you better pray Alex doesn't tell me the full truth. After saying that, Diana got up and gave Warren a sharp warning look. The meaning was obvious. If he let Stella leave the house, his day was going to become a nightmare. Unlike Warren, Diana came from a military background. She never believed in soft words or emotional persuasion. That job belonged to Warren. If she didn't become the iron-fisted parent in the house, nobody would ever be able to control Stella. A few moments later, Diana walked into her room and came back holding a property deed in her hand. She narrowed her eyes at Stella. If you want your uncle to drag you back home by force, then go ahead and leave. Otherwise, stay here quietly. I'm selling your apartment today. Then I'm going to find Alex. After that, do whatever you want with your life. Stella rolled her eyes and muttered bitterly, At this point, I'm probably adopted anyway. Go look for your favorite son, Alex, instead. But Diana completely ignored the comment. She opened the door and walked out without even looking back. Meanwhile, Alex was wandering aimlessly through the streets with no idea where to go next. Then suddenly, his old phone started ringing. The moment he looked at the screen, cold sweat instantly formed on his forehead. The caller ID said, Mother-in-law. With trembling hands, he quickly answered the call. Hello, you little troublemaker. Have I been too nice to you lately? Diana's voice exploded through the phone. Try saying hello to me like that one more time, and I'll have soldiers drag you away personally. Alex immediately straightened up. Sorry, Mom. Good. That sounds better. Then her tone calmed slightly. It's already afternoon. I'm willing to bet you still haven't eaten anything yet, right? Alex stayed silent because she was completely right. I'm waiting at the restaurant's private dining room, she continued. We're going to talk about this divorce. You have 10 minutes to get here. Alex swallowed nervously. I know you'll send people after me if I'm late. You're finally learning. I'll be there in 10 minutes, even if I have to run. And that's exactly what he did. The afternoon heat was brutal, and since he couldn't get a cab anywhere, He ended up running the entire way. By the time Alex pushed open the door to the private dining room, Diana was already taking out her phone, clearly seconds away from calling him again. She looked up at him. He was breathing heavily, completely soaked in sweat from head to toe. Diana slowly nodded. "Not bad. Even after the divorce, you still take me seriously." Then her expression turned serious again. "Now tell me honestly, why did you divorce Stella?" She leaned back slightly and stared directly into his eyes. "Think carefully before answering. If your answer annoys me enough, I might actually beat you to death." Hearing Diana question him so directly, Alex immediately panicked and tried to come up with a lie. "I actually have a medical condition," he said awkwardly. "I can't have children." But the second those words came out, Diana answered without hesitation. "Then let's go to the hospital right now." She immediately pulled out her phone. At that moment, Alex realized there was no way to fool her. Going to the hospital was absolutely not an option. If Diana discovered he was lying, he knew he was finished. He let out a long breath and slowly slumped back into his chair. Then, in a tired voice, he finally told the truth. "My marriage with Stella was basically just a transaction. A few years ago, my life completely fell apart. My mother needed surgery, and I needed 400,000 yen immediately. I had no other choice, so I went to Stella for help. That's how the marriage happened." He paused briefly before continuing, but after that, she had leverage over me, and she used it fully. I helped her with work, helped take care of you and Warren, and did whatever she needed. But now the contract is over. I can't keep holding on to her anymore. Alex already knew there was no point trying to play games in front of Diana. Things only got worse every time he tried. So he chose honesty. Even then, he still tried to make himself look like the bad guy in the story. But strangely, Diana barely reacted to the contract marriage part at all. Instead, she narrowed her eyes at a completely different sentence. "Wait," she said slowly. "Did you just call me old?" Alex almost choked. "No, absolutely not, Mom." He immediately shook his head. "You don't look old at all. Most people outside think you and Stella are sisters." That answer finally satisfied her a little. Diana leaned back comfortably in her chair. "As far as I'm concerned, that so-called contract marriage was basically just dating for 3 years. Then she started criticizing her own daughter without mercy. Stella obviously has plenty of flaws. That girl is a complete mess, even though she pretends to be perfect all the time. She has 0 life skills. Other than her looks and decent education, there honestly isn't much worth praising." Then Diana looked at Alex carefully. "Tell me the truth. After spending all those years together, you seriously expect me to believe you never developed feelings for her?" She waved her hand casually. "Even people get attached to pets after enough time, right?" A second later, she corrected herself. "I mean Stella, not you." Meanwhile, sweat kept dripping down Alex's forehead under the pressure of the conversation. He wiped his face nervously before speaking quietly. "Mom, you know where I come from. If Stella didn't have something to hold over me, someone like her would never even look in my direction. People like us live in completely different worlds. That's just reality." He lowered his eyes slightly. "And even if I did have feelings for her, it wouldn't matter. She already likes someone else." Diana immediately caught the meaning behind his words. "You're talking about Troy, aren't you?" "Troy only cares about the shares Stella owns in Visionary Group," Diana said coldly. "Only a naive girl like her would believe that man actually loves her." She rubbed her forehead in frustration. "And now you suddenly file for divorce without telling me first. What happens next? Troy comes back, and that idiot girl jumps straight into the fire. The entire empire Warren spent his whole life building will end up in Troy's family's hands." Then she sighed deeply. "Sometimes I really wish I had a son instead." Hearing that, Alex honestly had no idea how to respond. Agreeing felt dangerous. Disagreeing felt even worse. Luckily, Diana didn't continue the topic for long. She calmly reached into her bag, pulled out a thick envelope, and tossed it onto the table. 100,000 yuan. "Divorce is divorce, but I'm not some petty person." Her voice softened slightly. "You called me mom for 3 years. You may not be my son-in-law anymore, but you're still half a son to me." Then she snorted lightly. "And knowing Stella, if she gave you even 10,000 yen during the divorce, I'll take my own words back." She pushed the envelope closer toward him. "Take it. Use it properly. And don't even think about leaving the city. When Warren or I need help in the future, you'll come immediately." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "And if you refuse, I'll have the entire military base looking for you." Alex instantly shook his head. No, I'd never refuse. In reality, he knew refusing her wasn't even an option. He had known for a long time just how terrifying Diana could be, so he quietly accepted the money. The problem was, taking it also meant he now owed her a huge favor. While eating, Diana suddenly asked another question. Can Stella actually handle Visionary Group by herself? Alex nodded while still chewing his food. Seeing that answer, Diana finally looked a little satisfied. Then she smiled faintly. Handsome, talented. Honestly, you were the perfect match for Stella. After a short pause, she narrowed her eyes slightly. How about returning to Visionary Group? I can talk to Warren and make you head of planning. Alex immediately gave a bitter smile and shook his head. Mom, if I go back now, Stella will definitely think I'm desperately chasing after her. Our divorce is already finalized. It's better if we keep some distance. Besides, most employees at Visionary Group never even knew about our marriage, but the top executives all recognize me. Then his expression became slightly complicated. And Troy is coming back too. He lowered his eyes for a moment before speaking again. At the end of the day, I'm still Stella's ex-husband. Watching my ex-wife walk around with another man beside her, that's not exactly something I can handle calmly. He forced out a tired smile. So please, Mom, save me from that mess. Hearing that, Diana's expression slowly dropped. She let out a quiet sigh, clearly understanding more than he wanted her to. You know what your biggest problem is? Diana said while looking at Alex carefully. All that quiet pride of yours. You used every bit of it on us. Not even a single drop was used on that stupid girl. She shook her head helplessly. Stella still thinks everything you know today was taught by her. Then her tone softened slightly. Whatever. Since you've already made your decision, I won't force you anymore. But just because your relationship with Stella ended doesn't mean you should immediately jump into another one. She pointed at him seriously. If you ever meet someone you like, tell me first. And if your charm doesn't work, we'll just throw money at her until she says yes. Alex almost laughed awkwardly. I'm really not looking for anything right now. First, I need to get my life together, then maybe buy a house in this city. After that, maybe I'll think about dating. At that moment, Diana's phone started ringing again. Alex glanced at the screen. Mom, you're getting late for Mahjong. This is already Aunt Rosie's fourth call. The second Diana answered, she immediately complained. You just keep calling non-stop. Can't a woman peacefully eat with her son-in-law for once? Then she sighed dramatically. Fine, I'm coming. And today I'm taking all your money. A loud voice came from the other side of the phone. Is Alex with you? Bring him too. I want to spoil that boy a little. And honestly, that kid cooks better than most chefs. Diana looked toward Alex. Aunt Rosie is asking if you're coming. Alex shook his head apologetically. I can't today, Aunt Rosie. I still have things to do this afternoon. Then, completely out of habit, he added, I still need to buy groceries for Stella. The second those words left his mouth, he froze. A bitter realization hit him immediately. It had really become a habit. Meanwhile, Aunt Rosie's angry voice exploded through the phone. Diana, get over here right now. And just like that, Diana stormed out like a hurricane. A few minutes later, she drove away in her simple Audi A6, leaving Alex standing alone on the street once again. Bitterness filled his face as he slowly tightened his fist. A new life was starting now. He forced himself to stay positive. All right, he muttered quietly. First step, cigarettes. After buying a pack, he headed toward a real estate agency to search for a place to live. Eventually, he chose a top-floor duplex apartment. It was definitely more expensive than it should have been, but somehow it felt right. After all, a debt of 4 million yuan was never going to disappear just by saving small amounts here and there. If he really wanted to repay everything, he needed to think bigger. Meanwhile, Stella was almost on the verge of losing her mind. Her apartment had already been sold, and Diana informed her about it as casually as if nothing important had happened. Apparently, Diana had lost the apartment to Aunt Rosie during a mahjong game. And if Stella had any complaints about it, she was free to go argue with Aunt Rosie herself. Stella had always kept her distance from Aunt Rosie. Ever since she was young, that woman kept forcing her to call her sis instead of aunt. Even worse, Aunt Rosie constantly asked shameless questions about her married life with Alex. Questions Stella never knew how to answer. The truth was, when it came to relationships, Stella was practically inexperienced, clean and untouched emotionally, despite acting cold and mature all the time. Now she sat alone at the edge of her bed, staring blankly into space. Did she really love Troy, or had he simply become a place where she stored her old feelings? He had been overseas for years, and with time, those emotions had slowly faded away without her realizing it. Back when she first married Alex, she used to spend hours late at night talking to Troy on calls. But gradually, those calls became shorter. An hour turned into 30 minutes. 30 minutes became 10. And eventually, all it took was Alex quietly knocking on the door and saying, "Dinner's ready." That alone was enough for her to immediately hang up. Then her thoughts drifted further. Every month, during the days when she felt the worst physically, Alex would wake up early in the morning to make fish head tofu soup or slow-cooked rib broth for her. Before she left for work, he would hand her a thermos filled with ginger tea and wolfberries because he knew it helped her body feel warmer. Little things, tiny habits, things she never really paid attention to before. And suddenly, Stella felt completely lost. The image of Troy in her mind slowly became blurry, while memories of Alex only grew clearer and clearer. That feeling terrified her, because in the end, Alex was the one who walked away first. He was the one who left her, and Stella absolutely refused to accept that she was now thinking about him this much. The realization pushed her close to breaking down. So without thinking further, she grabbed her keys and phone and left the house. Eventually, she ended up at a bar. The moment she stepped inside, the unfamiliar atmosphere made her uncomfortable. This was never the kind of place she liked visiting, but she needed some kind of escape, some kind of distraction. The more she drank, the more irritated she became. This was ridiculous. Why was she still thinking about someone like Alex? Fine. He cooked well. He kept the house spotless. He washed clothes perfectly. And yes, he was good-looking too. But besides that, what exactly did he have? More importantly, how dare he file for divorce first? How dare he be the one to leave her? Completely drunk in her emotions, Stella didn't even realize something important. Not once during all of this had Troy crossed her mind. "You know," a man's voice suddenly interrupted her thoughts. "Someone as beautiful as you doesn't need alcohol to look intoxicating." By now, several men had already tried approaching her, but Stella only wanted to drink quietly alone. She slowly looked up at the man speaking to her. He looked around 40 years old, dressed head to toe in expensive designer clothes. Stella frowned immediately. "My yearly salary has 6 digits, Stella said coldly. "The watch I'm wearing costs more than 1,000,000 yuan, and I have relatives connected to deputy bureau-level officials." Then she looked directly at the man. "So tell me, do you seriously think I need a drink from you?" The man simply smiled awkwardly and walked away without arguing further. From her tone alone, it was obvious she wasn't asking a question. She was reminding him that everything he was trying to impress her with already existed in her world. Just as Stella stood up to leave, another younger guy suddenly slid into the seat beside her. "Come on, don't leave like that," he said with a grin. "My friends are all watching. Let's have a drink together. Drinking alone feels kinda sad, doesn't it?" Then his eyes slowly moved downward. "By the way, your legs look amazing. Mind if I get a closer look?" "Get lost." Without hesitation, Stella grabbed her drink and threw it directly into his face. At the same time, the older man from earlier quietly returned and sat nearby, clearly waiting for a chance to play hero. Meanwhile, the younger guy's face twisted with embarrassment and anger after being humiliated publicly. "Who the hell do you think you are?" He immediately raised his hand. But before he could touch her, someone suddenly grabbed his wrist tightly. A tall young man was now standing beside him. "You trying to start a fight in here?" he said calmly. "Not everyone is someone you can mess with." On the other side of the bar, several of the guy's friends started standing up aggressively, but the young man didn't even bother looking at them. He shoved the drunk guy backward and then turned towards Stella with a smile. "Sis, why are you here alone this late?" Stella, already pretty drunk by now, narrowed her eyes and tilted her head slightly while looking at him. The face looked familiar. He was Alex's younger friend, almost like a little brother. "My surname is Sun," the young man explained casually. "You can just call me Milo. This bar belongs to my sister and uncle, so I hang around here a lot." Then his expression became slightly serious. "Did you drive here yourself? It's already late, and honestly, those guys looked like trouble." "I already called Alex. He should be here any minute." The moment Stella heard Alex was coming, her heartbeat suddenly sped up. Almost instinctively, she stumbled toward the exit. Even she didn't understand what was happening to her anymore. The more she wanted to avoid seeing him, the harder it became to stay away. But the group of men clearly didn't want to let her leave that easily. They blocked her path and demanded an explanation. In response, Milo casually grabbed a chair and pointed it toward them. "The hell is wrong with you people? You think I won't actually hit you?" Then he glanced upstairs coldly. "I can call my people down right now if you want problems." His expression darkened further. "And just so you know, my sister's uncle runs the public security bureau in this city." The moment they heard that warning, the group instantly realized they had messed with the wrong people. One by one, they quietly backed off without causing more trouble. Meanwhile, the middle-aged man sitting nearby watched everything with disappointment written all over his face. His chance to play the hero had completely disappeared. Still, he didn't leave. Now, he was curious. He wanted to see what kind of man this woman belonged to. Outside the bar, Stella was stumbling forward unsteadily when she suddenly crashed into someone walking toward her. Before she could even react, the person caught her and lifted her into his arms effortlessly. A perfect Princess Carrie. He held her tightly against his chest like it was the most natural thing in the world. Behind them, Milo smiled knowingly and quietly, disappeared, leaving the scene behind. Everyone nearby immediately understood. Her man had arrived. "You drank alcohol and drove here yourself?" Alex's voice sounded cold and irritated. "If Milo hadn't noticed you, were you seriously planning to drive home alone? And coming to a place like this at night?" He tightened his grip slightly. "Do you even realize what could have happened if Milo wasn't here today?" By now, Stella had completely buried her face against his chest with both hands, refusing to let him see her expression, as if hiding would somehow save her from being scolded. Alex kept lecturing her while carrying her outside, but the moment the cold night air hit her face, she suddenly threw up all over him. That instantly pushed his patience to the limit. Grinding his teeth, he snapped, "I should take you straight to Mom right now and let her see that the second we got divorced, you ran off to a bar to drink your problems away." Then he spoke firmly. "Give me your car keys." Stella slowly looked up at him with blurry, drunken eyes. "She's my mom," she muttered weakly. "Not yours." Alex sighed heavily. "Fine, then I'll drop you at your mother's house." But Stella quietly shook her head. "I don't have the key." Alex stared at her for a second. "Wait, did you seriously not have any plan for where to go tonight?" Now he was genuinely getting angry. Stella slowly curled closer against his chest like a child who knew she had messed up badly. After a long silence, her voice finally trembled softly. "Alex, I don't have a home anymore. Mom sold my apartment. I literally have nowhere to go." Hearing that, Alex went silent. In the end, he brought her back to the duplex apartment he had just rented earlier that day. That entire night, he slept on the sofa while Stella took the bedroom. By morning, his whole body ached from sleeping uncomfortably. And honestly, it annoyed him even more knowing his brand new bed had been claimed by Stella before he even got the chance to use it himself. Then suddenly her phone started ringing non-stop. Even before sunrise fully arrived, the calls just kept coming again and again. Still half asleep, Alex grabbed the phone and answered the call without even checking properly. The second the call connected, Diana's furious voice exploded through the speaker. "When you get home, I'm personally skinning you alive. I literally warned you not to stay out overnight, and you already broke the rule on the first day." Alex quietly waited for her anger to calm down a little before speaking carefully. "Mom, it's Alex. Stella's with me." The call instantly disconnected. Alex stared at the phone in complete confusion. A few seconds later, a message arrived. "Warren and I are going on a trip. Let Stella stay with you for now. I trust you. And don't you dare call me to argue about this. Otherwise, I'll personally give you a taste of military combat drills." Alex kept staring at the message, completely speechless. Was Diana seriously not worried at all? Then again, Stella was with him. Maybe, in Diana's eyes, that was already the safest place possible. After all, they had spent 3 years living together already. Alex was still trying to process everything when he suddenly sensed someone standing behind him. Stella had quietly walked over without him noticing. "You're checking my phone now?" she said lazily. "During our marriage, you never cared. I talked to Troy on calls all the time, and you never said anything." Then she crossed her arms slightly. "But now that we're divorced, suddenly you're interested." She looked completely calm about it. "If you want, I can show you everything myself." Alex turned around and looked at her properly. Her face still wasn't washed, and her hair was completely messy from sleep. For a second, the scene felt strangely familiar. Alex slowly closed his eyes and took a deep breath. "Stella, if you pull something like this again, I'm telling Mom. I'm serious." But instead of answering properly, she casually changed the topic. "I'm hungry." Then, right in front of him, she picked up her phone, opened her blocked contacts list, and showed him something. Troy's number was blocked. After that, she casually tossed the phone onto the sofa and skipped toward the bathroom like nothing had happened. Watching her leave gave Alex a strange feeling. Their divorce wasn't even 1 full day old yet, and somehow they were already living together again. Soon, soft humming sounds started coming from the bathroom. Meanwhile, Alex silently walked toward the kitchen. While preparing breakfast, he explained Diana's message. "Mom and Warren went on a trip. They even took the house keys with them. She said you can stay here for now. Then he added awkwardly, I don't really mind. We already lived together before anyway. From inside the bathroom, Stella immediately shouted back, Alex, hurry up, I have work today. Hearing how shamelessly normal she sounded almost made Alex lose his mind. Part of him genuinely wanted to grab a frying pan, walk into the bathroom, and start arguing with her. What exactly was happening anymore? The marriage was over. The contract was over. He was drowning in 4 million yuan worth of debt. And somehow, they were living together again, like nothing had changed. Every logical part of his brain was screaming that he should stop this immediately. Alex took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. Hurry up and get ready, he said toward the bathroom. I need to leave too. I've got a job interview today. A second later, Stella suddenly peeked her head out from the bathroom with wide eyes. Wait, you came home late last night and still washed my clothes? Then she grinned shamelessly. Forget getting a new job. Just become my full-time housekeeper instead. Alex answered immediately without even looking at her. I'm not interested in watching my ex-wife reconnect with her old crush. Even if our marriage started as a contract, I still have some dignity as a man. Stella blinked slowly. Old crush? You mean Troy? Then her expression became playful. Alex, are you jealous? Alex ignored her, but Stella kept pushing. Do you actually like me? I'm not answering that. Still, she refused to stop asking. Eventually, Alex gave up arguing altogether. He picked up breakfast from the kitchen and placed it on the table. Stella smiled mischievously. Just admit you're jealous and I won't choose Troy. Deal? Alex finally sighed in defeat. Fine. I'm jealous. Then he pointed toward the food. Now eat your breakfast. And there's another problem now, he added bitterly. Looks like I'm going to end up taking care of you again. Stella looked completely pleased with herself. You should consider it an honor. You have no idea how many men tried talking to me last night. Alex rolled his eyes. Eat. Neither of them noticed something important. After the divorce, the way they talked to each other had completely changed. Alex no longer acted nervous and careful around Stella like before, and Stella no longer treated him like hired help. Part of her was worried he might bring up everything that happened at the bar, and on the other side, the moment Alex admitted he was jealous, her mood instantly improved. Now she suddenly seemed perfectly comfortable staying there with him. Meanwhile, inside Alex's head, everything felt like complete chaos. This situation somehow felt worse than any tragedy he had ever heard about. But no matter how complicated things became, one problem still remained: the 4 million yuan debt. During breakfast, Alex suddenly received a reply from Glory Group. They agreed to meet him for an interview that same day, so he immediately got ready and headed out, feeling nervous but determined to face this new challenge. But just as he was mentally preparing himself, a bright red raptor suddenly flew past him at insane speed, barely missing him by a few inches. His confidence instantly disappeared. By the time he regained his balance, the car had already stopped further ahead. A woman stepped out from inside. She wore a tight black bodycon dress with high heels nearly 8 centimeters tall. Her figure was stunning, and her style was bold enough to grab everyone's attention immediately. But Alex barely cared about any of that. In his eyes, she was simply the woman who had almost run him over seconds ago. He started walking toward her to say something, but before he could even speak, she quickly entered the Glory Group building and disappeared inside. Alex rubbed his chin quietly while staring toward the building entrance. That woman is trouble, he muttered to himself. I can already feel it. A little later, he entered the HR interview room inside Glory Group. 3 interviewers were already waiting for him there. 2 men, 1 woman. The whole atmosphere strangely felt less like a job interview and more like a police interrogation. The woman sitting in the center spoke first. Let's start with a basic introduction. My name is Manager Joe. I'm the head of HR, and I'll be leading this interview. She gestured toward the 2 men beside her. They'll mainly evaluate your experience and answers before we decide whether moving forward together makes sense. Then she calmly explained the company culture. At Glory Group, employees are treated more like partners than tools. We don't really follow the traditional boss and worker structure. Our management style is more human compared to most companies. I'll explain our policies first. After that, you can decide for yourself whether you still want to continue. Manager Joe looked calm and approachable the entire time. There was no arrogance in her voice at all. Hearing that made Alex relax slightly. After listening carefully, he nodded. I'd like to continue. Manager Joe smiled faintly. Compared to Visionary Group, Glory treats its people much better. Working here doesn't mean selling your entire life to the company. Then the real interview began. Now I have a few questions for you. Just like you're deciding whether we're the right fit for you, we also need to know whether you're the right fit for us. She leaned forward slightly. So, tell us about yourself. Alex answered calmly with a small smile. My name is Alex. I'm 25 years old and divorced. I have 3 years of experience in the planning department at Visionary Group. I've led several smaller projects and also worked on planning operations connected directly with Glory Group. Then he added honestly, my highest level of education is high school. I had to leave college during my first year because of a family emergency. One of the interviewers immediately asked another question. Why did your divorce happen? Alex answered without hesitation. We came from completely different worlds. I didn't want to hold her back. The next question came quickly. If Glory Group had to build a strategy against Warrior World, where would you start? Alex answered almost instantly. I don't think targeting Warrior World is necessary at all. It's a budget-focused brand aimed mostly at middle-aged and older customers. In reality, it only exists to protect Visionary Group's retail division. It was a defensive move, nothing more. Then his tone became sharper. Glory Group's real strength lies in luxury boutiques and jewelry stores. Trying to copy Warrior World's business model would honestly be pointless. The results wouldn't be good either. The room became slightly quieter after that answer. Finally, Manager Joe asked the last question. Why did you leave Visionary Group? Alex looked at her calmly and replied directly. It was too far from home. Then he tilted his head slightly. That reason, good enough for you? We'll give you our final answer by tomorrow evening. Manager Joe smiled politely. We look forward to possibly working with you, Mr. Alex. Alex nodded and walked out of the interview room, still feeling slightly mentally exhausted from everything that had happened lately. One foot had already stepped outside the door when he suddenly stopped and turned back around. That red Raptor parked downstairs, he asked carefully. Does it belong to your company? The moment that question came out, the atmosphere inside the room suddenly became weirdly quiet. All three interviewers exchanged strange looks with each other. Manager Joe slowly stood up from her seat. You didn't get hurt, right, Mr. Alex? It is a company car. Alex immediately waved his hand. No, I'm fine. Then he added honestly, but whoever was driving it seriously deserves 2 slaps. Don't take it personally. She was driving in 8-centimeter heels and almost killed me. After saying that, he casually left the room. Behind him, the 3 interviewers stared at each other in silence, unsure whether they should even write that last part into the interview notes. To be fair, this wasn't exactly new. Everyone in Glory Group already knew about their boss's driving habits. There was basically an unspoken company survival rule at this point. Never lower your guard near the plaza around 9 in the morning. Always use the pedestrian path, and if you value your life, stay far away from the red Raptor. Manager Joe let out a helpless sigh. I like this guy, she admitted quietly. Let's hire him and see how things go. Besides, we have a 1-month trial period anyway. We can terminate the contract any time if needed. Then one of the interviewers laughed awkwardly. And honestly, almost getting hit by Boss Lady's car is basically her version of saying hello. We've all gone through it already. At this point, it's practically a Glory Group tradition. Meanwhile, Alex stood in front of the elevator, still feeling slightly shaken. His mind kept replaying recent events. Was this some kind of divorce karma? One day he gets divorced. The next day, Diana almost beats him to death. Then Stella moves back in, and this morning he nearly gets run over before somehow surviving the interview too. Just as he was lost in thought, the elevator doors opened. Alex stepped forward absent-mindedly, and suddenly something soft crashed directly into his chest. Before he could even process what happened, a fist slammed hard into his stomach. A furious female voice exploded into his ears. Can't you watch where you're going? You touched me! Are you trying to die? Before she even finished speaking, the woman grabbed his hair and tried hitting him again. That was the moment Alex finally lost patience too. Without thinking, he grabbed her hair back. She instantly screamed and drove the sharp heel of her shoe straight onto his foot. Alex shouted in pain. And finally, he got a proper look at her face. It was the exact same woman who had almost run him over downstairs earlier. Tell me which department you work in, the woman snapped while still pulling Alex's hair. I'll fire you right now. Let go of me first. But instead of loosening her grip, she grabbed even harder as she kept yelling. Alex finally lost his temper too. I'm not trying to act like some gentleman here, he shot back. I don't even work in this company yet. Then he pointed at her angrily. You almost ran me over downstairs earlier, and I've been trying to find you ever since. By now, employees nearby had already started gathering around to watch the chaos. At the same time, the 3 interviewers rushed over after hearing the shouting. The second they recognized both voices, their expressions became complicated instantly. Manager Joe froze for a moment after seeing the scene. Alex, let go first, Then she turned toward the woman. Miss Lu, please calm down too. Everyone's watching. Alex, you should release her first, one of the interviewers whispered awkwardly. Miss Lu is still a woman. Alex frowned, but eventually let go first. Unfortunately, the second he released her, she lunged directly for his throat again. Manager Joe immediately jumped between them and desperately tried calming her down. After several tense moments, Miss Lu finally backed away. Now both of them stood there in messy condition, glaring at each other like enemies. Then suddenly, Selene bent down, removed one of her heels, and prepared to throw it at Alex. If you want the second part of this video, please like, subscribe, and comment part 2.